So this is a really good example to show you because it's very common to many students. So this person's actually done the difference between males and females and their time spent gaming. And they've got a nice first sentence, but then they've actually made their purpose, it goes back to front, because they said in their first sentence, males tend to spend more time gaming than females. And then they said, the purpose for this investigation will investigate if females spend more or have a higher signal tendency than males. So that's back to front. I've just mentioned here to use a different word here, subjective, but still. Now, the bit that's missing from this introduction is the population is not clear. Okay, it's very vague in terms of the population. So because this data I know that comes from year 11s and year 13s, I suggest your population is, say, Sancta Maria year 11s and 13s. You're welcome to go wider, like year 11s and 13s in New Zealand. It's not wrong. You just need to write about that in your conclusion or in your evaluation. Think about how far your inference can go based on your sample. Right. First, another thing I noticed is there's no units. Every time this person's written a number, there's no units. That's going to limit them to achieved only, the best. And the other thing I mentioned was abbreviating. And if I just move this, apostrophes like the word don't, say do not. It's just more formal to write sentences in full rather than using apostrophes. This is a very common error where I'm pointing here. They've made this statement about shift and center. I think I've said here, show I've reminded them to start a new sentence, but they've made this statement, that's all fine, they've done what do you see, where do you see it, and then they've tried to justify what it means. Good on them, but this needs to be more cautious. This could most likely be due to its opinion. A better way to say it would be, it is suggested, or this could be as a result of. So rather than being absolute about their justification, they need to be more cautious. And if they want to go for a better grade, really they need to be referencing or saying this because the media or the research says this, that's actually going to help them more than just opinion. Now, I've highlighted this, everything here in yellow, because that's actually one sentence. And you might laugh, but gosh, did I read a lot of these kind of sentences in the time series reports. Just a big long sentence with lots of commas, and the meaning of the sentence gets lost. So you've got to shorten up your sentences and use full stops, capital letters. I've highlighted that word significant because I think in statistics, well, in this instance, I've said the shift is small, not significant. Just got to be very careful. Just small words actually make a big difference. This person's got their left and right tail. If you look at this this graph, the tail is on the right. The tail is on the right. So we call this right skewed, not left skewed. The context of this is gaming hours per week. So I should see those 3 words, gaming or 4 words, gaming hours per week, written quite regularly throughout this report. If you want merit, you've got to write it in context. They've talked about the range here. I think it helps the marker just to show that you know what or how you calculated the 16, for example. And you could just write in brackets, whatever it is, 18 minus 2 or whatever however they calculated the range would be nice. I think I've mentioned all of these. Right. I've made this point before, but when you do your comparative statements or your CUSS, it's actually a comparison. You're not talking about the shape independently. It's a comparative statement, and the females is more consistent. Females is more consistent than the males. So it's a relativity comment. Make sure you're comparing two groups all the way through. See this tagline here? They've written a really nice sentence, and then they've just tried to justify it by saying which is a whole lot. That's informal. We don't do that. So don't ever just tag on something because you think it makes it sound better or longer. Just quality over quantity. And you may say that's relevant. That happened a lot in time series. People just it's called colloquial language, like just adding in a little sentence at the end or a little tag on. See, so this conclusion, by the way, class, is absolutely exactly right. Only he or she would get not achieved for it. Now, just can you read it, please? Two things that need to be improved. First of all, you need to justify, or the thing that's missing really is sampling variability. There's no discussion that this sample is not the absolute end of the full stop. This is what happens in the population. If we took another sample, we'd have a different result. So that's your first sentence. Oops. Start this section with a sentence about sampling variability, and then you can justify why, because bootstrapping, remember, is a simulation of sampling twice, 3 times, 4 times from the population. So that's where that person should start. And then lastly, it needs to make an inference about the median. Okay, if you want a good exemplar on Schoology now, you'll see my exemplars about making an inference about the median. So it doesn't do either of those two things. If you look on the marking grid, you'll see you need sampling variability and you need to make an inference specifically about the population parameter. And in this instance, it's about the median. Okay.